All right, we are ready.
I'd like to call the Seldovia Planning Commission meeting March 4th, 2026 at
07.
6:07 p.m. to order. And if the clerk could do the roll call.
Commissioner Forsberg is absent. Commissioner Kroll? Henry, are you here? All right, let's see you. Commissioner Ryan
Here.
and Commissioner Sweet.
Here.
We have 3 members present, so we do have a quorum.
And then if I could get a motion to approve the agenda. I don't know if anyone heard me. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah, this is Allison. I will move to approve the agenda.
And could I have a second?
Henry, is your hand raised, seconding it?
Wasn't working on. Hey, I second.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll.
Would you like me to call the roll for it? Okay. For approval of the agenda, Commissioner Kroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweet.
Yes.
Right, we have 3 yeas. The motion passes.
And that will take us to item D, and the meeting minutes will be provided at the next commission meeting. And item E, are any public comments regarding items not on the agenda?
I do not believe we have any.
Okay. And we have no public hearings prior notice and no consideration of site plans today.
Correct.
And so that takes us to commission business, and the Seldovia Comprehensive Plan Update, final draft, summary of public comments received. Turn it over to the city manager.
Yes, thank you. So I apologize. We were hoping to get a finalized version with the comments incorporated out to you guys sooner, and that did not occur. It's still in with the design team. However, I do have a copy of the plan with the comments marked that will be incorporated, as well as they included an appendix with a summary of the public comments received, and that is on page 62 of your packet. No, sorry, 62 is the history. So there's with a historical context in the previous plan that's just crossing over into this plan so we don't lose track of it. And then on page 59, between 59 and 61 are those public comments received as a summary that will be attached as an appendix to the plan. So those will be the 2 kind of more substantive changes to the plan, is adding those appendices in. And then if you see on the screen there, I'll just run you through real quick the edits that have been suggested. I got to meet with Britta in Anchorage. It was really nice to meet her in person and just go through and finalize these suggestions. These are based off of a few comments we received from the commission or commissioners, and then we had only one individual submit a comment on the plan. And they really nicely went through the entire plan and wrote notes on it and then provided it to us, along with some verbal notes. So just trying to incorporate some of those things, and they were more logistical, as you'll see here. So I won't go dive deep, but if you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to get through this fairly quickly. And then if you guys have any other additions or things you want to add, let me know sooner than later. That way we can get it back in with the design team. And then if it looks good with these changes, you guys can either ask to have it come back, or if the changes aren't substantive enough, you can even refer it back to the city council for adoption with the changes as discussed. So here we go, page 1, just simply that we need to add a place for the adoption date of the plan so that we're tracking it, and that we should have a space from the borough and the city. And we'll have the borough participation when the final plan is presented, whether that's to you guys or to the city council, so that they can have been a part of some of the process. Public comment received was to remove Vivian, as she wasn't a sitting council member when this was adopted. But she was part of the plan when we started it, which is why she was listed here. And then from a commission member to acknowledge the Kenai Peninsula Borough. So those things would both occur on this page 3. And then page 4, some of the great feedback that we received from public comment was that there were a few acronyms that were not included on our table of acronyms. So that included mainly the question was USACE, ArcGIS, and GBETA. And rural cap. And then when I looked, I also saw ACS Alaska was not listed on here. I did a scan through back and forth to make sure that we had them all. And that looked like the only other one that was missed. And even though most of us know who ACS is, it's probably great that we keep with the tradition and think for the future, not knowing what the status of ACS will be in the long term, having that included. So those acronyms and their names will be included. And then if we go down to the next set of comments here on page 6, just because this process has gotten drawn out just a little bit further, making sure that we include the public meeting date that happened in January, on January 14th, and an updated adoption date for March, or potentially it would be even later, depending on how this discussion goes today. And I believe this one, nope, that's the same thing. Include the public meeting date in January. Update this January, February timeline, and then March. So just updating timelines. Page 8, some just small language changes. Instead of sets out a 20-year vision, replaced with is structured around 6 pillars, and just taking out that 20-year vision piece, because if you read the page before and then even the paragraph before this, it says 20-year vision in like every sentence for a while. So just shortening that, just more focus on the pillars and not the vision itself. And that's page 8. Are you guys still following me? Do you want me to slow down, or is this okay pace?
I think there are page numbers in the lay down that maybe aren't.
On these pages. I'm sorry, I apologize. So that would be, I mean, they are in the little right-hand corner, on some of the page, right or left-hand corner of these pages. So thank you for pointing that out, Liz. For anybody who's not following or is following. So that's page 10 of your packet, of your laydown. Are we good? so far? Okay, I'm gonna keep going, but please jump in at all if you need to. Page 16 is gonna be the next set of comments, and that is gonna be page. See here. What page of the packet that is? So we make sure we're following the same one. Oh, sorry, page 14. And that is, nope, 12, sorry. These page numbers are gonna drive me nuts. Page 18 of the laydown. Page 12 of my document, or page 12 of the comprehensive plan in the little left-hand corner there. And this one is include in here a sentence about the public also benefiting from community services such as the library, pool, sea otter, community center, and school. What the most, one of the biggest things that was pointed out in the public comment received was that we don't mention the dam at all, which is maybe fair because it's under public facilities. That the school, not the school, the library was very minimally mentioned. SOS was very minimally mentioned, and the pool was not included. So these changes seek to at least mention those services. And then when reviewing the plan versus those comments received, even here under this community vision section, which is where we're at in this document, you see community vision 2025, 2024, or 2025 to 2045. We've got a little overview as suggested by the Planning Commission, and then talking about that vision of 2045. And community services are not included. So that was an eye opener that there should be a paragraph included about the benefits of continued community services such as the library, pool, sea otter community center, and school. So a short paragraph or sentence or two will be included, calling that out in the community vision. If you guys have any other things that you want included with that, or that you think should be mentioned with that community services for the future vision, it'd be great to hear your feedback.
Are the EMS services otherwise called out, or would that be part of what you would include in community services?
They are called out throughout some of the other areas in the plan, but
Okay.
they could be included in this one as well.
I guess just trying to think of what's the things that are sort of immediately important to day-to-day, I guess, kind of day-to-day life.
Yeah, I mean, it does talk about through proactive planning, Seldovia continues to adapt and changes the environment and mitigate risks from natural hazards. Residents feel safe, and there's a paragraph on that, and their families with sentence with, and their familiarity with emergency procedures. Resources such as backup generators and emergency food cache bolster emergency preparedness, but if you wanted to
Okay,
have.
yeah. Yeah, I don't want to overdo, like
Mhm.
just,
Well, if you think of something that's not too late, let us know.
Yeah.
I would say if you guys let us know by Friday, we can probably make sure it's incorporated. Next, going down then, if nobody else had anything to add with that, it's going to be page 20 of your packet. And it also including in there, sorry, make sure I'm on the wrong place here. Yeah. Again, including prioritizing under community and social services, you see, so we're talking about each pillar, as the section that we're in, community voices that led to strategic pillars. And one of the most common themes, if I remember correctly, that we heard from the July meeting was the pool. And that's not mentioned in here. So pool and streets were very much talked about. So including in this section about community voices informing the plan. That we're prioritizing the pool, library, and outdoor venues for cultural events, concerts, and the arts. Because we heard all of those topics. Library a little bit later, but certainly at that July 7th meeting, I heard quite a few comments about wanting an outdoor venue, as well as the pool. And that's in the AML notes as well. So just making sure that we follow through and have those community services included. Any comments on that? Okay, we'll keep going down. Page 28 of your laydown. This was called out in public comment. And I've heard it before, but there was this concept in the 2014 plan about a memory grove park. And there's not a lot of information really behind that, what that is. And the public comment called that out, like, what is this? Do we need to expand it more? Does it belong here? So I suggested that having a central plaza where history, art, and sweeping views of Kachemak Bay converge is probably great enough, and not having to have a name associated with that to start, unless you guys want that in there. But really more focused on the place than the name. Or having those central areas versus the concept of a memory grove park. But it's certainly up to you guys on whether you think that should be kept in there or not. Was just trying to work with that public comment of really what is this and why. So we can go either way. You want it expanded or removed?
Is there an explanation of what it is? Do you know what it is?
A Memory Grove Park. I think in the 2014 plan, it talked a little bit about it being like a place where and maybe it's not in the plan, maybe it's just something that I heard a long time ago, was like a place to kind of, memorialize or talk about people and things of our past, but I don't really know a whole lot more to what that is. I know we talked about a seafarers memorial at the harbor.
So you don't know if it refers to a specific location?
I think that if I recall correctly, it had something to do with some land by the Russian Orthodox Church, and
Okay.
there was, and I don't know if that land is private land now. I mean, I think it was an idea, and that was a possible location, and
Okay.
and where it seemed like it was just a concept that was sort of articulated, but there wasn't anything concrete. And then when the Parks and Rec group or working group dissolved, that kind of dissolved with that, or there wasn't any
Mhm.
leadership to continue forward from wherever that was. So I think that's, to my recollection, that's what that was about.
So does it need to be kept in here? And then if that's the case, does it need to be made into an action?
So I don't know that, I guess, did anyone specifically mention that as a comment in this, so there doesn't seem to be any connection to the community. I think there have been people that have been possibly interested, but then they expressed a little bit of interest, and then nothing happened with that. So if this is reflective of where people are at today, I don't think it's something that's at top of mind from people in the community today. And maybe if there's a way of putting it, maybe that just being open to being responsive to the community to further develop the Main Street area to reflect the desires of the community. That way, if things come up or if people have ideas, then it's just being able to get input and then act on it. But I don't think we have anything concrete that is
Okay.
actionable to my understanding. I don't know if either of the commissioners have any feedback on this. I'm assuming that you don't have any since no one's speaking up, so we'll just so that's the feedback on that.
So keep it as a remove. Okay, that works. And then we'll move to the next comment, which is just a clerical on page 30 of the packet. There's an extra indent under L41. And then moving through on page 31 of my packet, which is, sorry about this, guys. I thought it would be easier to see the plan in its whole instead of these half sheets. So maybe that was not the right method. Page 33 of your packet, and this was a great comment that was brought up at the January 14th meeting, as well as in the public comment received, that this sentence, evaluate options for a bypass route connecting Airport Avenue or a northern road extension to the east end of Main Street, improving evacuation safety and reducing industrial traffic downtown, didn't really make sense because the east side of town doesn't connect to the northern road extension. Like there was, some talk about like that doesn't, those really aren't connections that are going to be made. And that if the intent is to have a second bypass or evacuation route from East Addition or airport area, to look at, I believe the intent was to have talk about a route by the airport, like past the slough, or to look at, just another in case the bridge goes down, having another path of access. So updating that language instead to say bypass route connecting the airport or East Addition to the community, improving evacuation safety and reducing industrial traffic downtown, and simplifying that a little bit. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, for me. Does it work for Commissioner Kroll and Commissioner Ryan? Is that okay with you?
Yes, this is Ryan. I'm
Thank you.
having a hard time following this whole discussion, so if I have time, I'll look at it more later.
Okay, sorry. They're not, like I said, they're not substantial changes, but just wanted to make sure we brought these to your guys' attention, and then yeah, hopefully it can move forward to the council when it's finished, and we'll go from there. So if that's the case, then we'll go to the next set of comments, which is on page 32 of your laydown. And again, just being cognizant of and under continuing collaboration with local organizations, that one of those local organizations is the Seldovia Public Library. So trying
Be
to
page 38.
38 of your laydown, sorry. 32 of my packet, 38 of the laydown. This is not working, is it?
Yeah. I didn't actually see the numbers on the other side, so that's my bad.
We're almost through it. And then the next one is under C26 public facility infrastructure maintenance or improvement, and that is on same page. Sorry. And that is including under those public facilities, harbor facilities, because that was a comment that we also received, is that the harbor was not included in our public facilities. So calling that out, which is always great to have that information included. And And then we're really close to the end here. Making sure that we included under our regional entities on page 43 of the laydown, the Ketchimak Heritage Land Trust. And then that's for land preservation and conservation, because there are an active partner that we are working with, and hope to for many years to come. And then under, there's just a typo following, on that same page, under state entities, there's an extra K under the Alaska Department of Commerce, Community and Economic Development. So removing the K. And then under intersection with other planning documents, key elements on page 45, including that reservoir and dam under infrastructure priorities, because those are priorities that were called out in the capital improvement plan and our projects that are actively being worked on. It's not included in here, but one thing that came up today in a meeting that I was having on a grant pre-proposal discussion with KB NER is that our stormwater management plan has not talked about how intersecting with this plan. So if you guys don't mind, I was going to broach that with AML and just say perhaps we should put a short little paragraph in here about the stormwater management plan being part of the comprehensive plan, because it's a very important document that's starting to inform other plans and projects as we work through them, especially with the recent flooding and issues that we've been having with weather. So that's been fun.
And then I guess it also helps if it's in our comprehensive plan when the city's applying for grants, it's good to show the connectedness of our strategies
Yeah.
and our documents.
So is that okay with everybody if we add a paragraph on our stormwater management plan?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then bear with me, we just got a couple more.
Page 46.
Page 46. There was a question on what our lump was, which was supposed to be removed across the plan. So removing that and making sure it says zoning code, which is what we replaced the rest. And then under the first sentence under alignment with the 6 strategic pillars, it says economy, CIP projects, and Seldovia zoning code, zoning, enable development, which is just an unnecessary second zoning word in there. So cleaning that up a little bit and removing that. And let's see. And I had a question when I was reading our proposed implementation timeline on page 48. It says waterfront redevelopment. And whether, we list that as a mid to long-term project. And if that, I don't know if that should be transportation projects instead, as there isn't a full plan or proposal for that waterfront development, or is that a focus for our long-term plans to redevelop? I know we talked a lot about developing Main Street and keeping Main Street developed. It read off to me as, what is waterfront redevelopment? But we can leave it in there and that can be for somebody to figure out. Or we can put something more concrete in there, which is why I suggested transportation projects, but.
So I guess sort of at least the legacy thinking has been some kind of boardwalks and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So if that if that's what we mean, we should maybe say that, because if it's, I don't know, if it's transportation, do we speak to any transportation projects in the transportation pillar about Main Street's transportation?
Getting more
Do
specific.
are we, because of, yeah, so,
I mean, there are examples, so it could stay and it wouldn't be that big of a deal as an example, but it just felt like to me, maybe having something more concrete would make sense
because I
as an
mean,
example, because
out of the things that we're saying, I guess in our strategic documents, we've said that having boardwalks is a priority.
Mhm.
So if we want to be, if we want to be concrete about what we're saying, it would seem like that would be something that we've said we want to do, and we've got it in the CIP. And so that may be a place to put it. So it's something that we're already talking about.
So boardwalks instead of transportation projects. I like that.
I mean, it's still it's a
Yeah.
pedestrian transportation kind of a project, but yeah, I guess it's like if we're for ourselves and for other people coming after us, it's probably a good idea to be specific to what we've already agreed on rather than going to a general place.
Mhm.
Because we can always add stuff, but if that way we're saying we're following through on what we're saying. Do Commissioner Ryan or Commissioner Kroll, do you all have any feedback on this issue? If you don't answer, I'll assume you don't, but I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to say so.
Yeah, this is Allison. I think speaking to that, is it the Harbor Boardwalk? I don't know, something that was specific that, so that, like you say, it was not, people are kind of trying to second guess us.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to decide what waterfront means in this situation.
Yeah.
That is Main Street, isn't it? Is that the waterfront or?
That's what it's called in the plan
Yeah.
over and over. It's very broad. And so as an example, it probably doesn't set the best example because, well, what is that? But if you had that narrower focus of a harbor boardwalk or pedestrian project boardwalks.
Right. And we've also said that the other boardwalk needs to be refurbished. So and the waterfront, extends from the slough through the main street. So if we want to focus on what we're saying, what we've said is important, then this might be the place to do that.
Okay. We can make that change. Thank you for that feedback. There isn't anything else on those examples. I think the rest is really pretty much typos. So on the next page, 49, just making sure spit with spots is actually spit with spots and not spit spots. And the following page, just cleaning up some consistencies. So we call DNR some places and ADNR other places, and our acronyms, they're DNR. So making sure that that's A is removed and we're consistent. And then there's several places in here. And I think this was my fault inclusion that it says Kachemak Land Heritage Trust when it's actually Kachemak Heritage Land Trust. So just cleaning those up. That happens multiple places. Again, Kachemak Heritage Land Trust, we go to the A. Is on the next page as well. Page 52, Kachemak Land Heritage Trusts on there twice. So just making sure we call them by their right name. And then on page 53, removing, there's a second NERS on KB NER under Community and Social Services that does not need to be there. And I'm sorry, I said 53, but that's actually 55 of your lay down. So just some small typos here. NERS, clean up the NERS, and then right below that, you'll see that it's the University of Alaska AF. And I don't know how.
Well, you were enough, right? So you just got lost.
But removing the eight. So some, yeah, some small cleanups that were caught. And a final review, as well as incorporating those public comments. And let me see if there's any more. Yep, there's one more, Catchmark Land Heritage Trust. On page 57. And then that's it really for cleaning up the plan. And then 59, like I said, 59 through 61 are how those public comments received, how were implemented into the plan. So summarizing those and including them, as well as that history context. So looking forward to hearing your guys' feedback. And if there is any other further direction from the commission, thank you.
So, this is Randy. I just had one other thought about the waterfront, redevelopment is on the, and that kind of, I think it may also be connected to the stormwater pollution plan, prevention plan, because there's work that is, I don't know if it's more short-term work, but you know how there are repairs and other things to manage water flow. So whether that should be included in that mid to long range development there. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but you know, again, if we're trying to be clear about what we're thinking, or if that's,
Yeah.
or if that's more, if it's, is that, would you consider that more of a short-term kind of activity?
I missed the very beginning. I apologize. I got
So, sorry. So within the, I guess, maintenance, repair, redevelopment, there are activities that have to do with flooding and water runoff
Mhm.
and so forth. And that would be part of being the waterfront areas. And so again, if you want to connect like the stormwater pollution prevention plan and other things, then, and if that's in the right time frame, that might be good to just, again, include it just because we're doing it and it's part of making, you know, sustaining our waterfront in a good working order.
as an example. Sure, let's
Yeah.
put that in there. I will make note of that. Thank you. I mean, the watershed protection measures are on there
In
for
the short term.
in the mid, short to mid.
Okay, so however, if, you know, if it helps, I think I was thinking also
Stormwater management.
in terms of if you're also, again, if you're doing grants and if you're able to refer to things, if it's helpful, yes, if it doesn't provide
Yeah,
good value, but just that can,
okay. Yeah, we can accept that. Absolutely.
any other comments from the commissioners? And if you don't comment, I'll assume that you are okay. So in terms of process, so I think one of the things that was mentioned was that these changes can be made. We can approve these changes. They can be made, and then the AML can put it together and then provide it to the city council, or it could come back to the planning commission. And so I would ask the commissioners if either of you have any advice on how you would like to see this. Are you okay with just having these corrections made and then incorporating it into the final draft and let that go to the city council? Or would you rather see the final draft before it goes to the city council?
I'm okay with it going this way. I do have This is Allison. I have a comment on, just reading through the public comments. Is that going to be included in the plan as well, those exact public comments? Because I think that would be helpful.
Through the chair, the great question. Yes, those public comments are going to be included as an appendix.
Good.
And Commissioner Kroll, are you okay with it going, the edits being done and then the final document going over to the city council, or would you, excuse me, would you want to have it to come back to the city, to the planning commission?
So Liz, he is in the attendee. Can he speak? Does he have permissions? Sorry about that, Henry. It looked like you must have gotten kicked off and back on, so.
Yeah, those look fine.
Okay, so you're okay with the document being updated and going over to the city council?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, I guess in terms of process, should we vote on this and say that, so, I guess if we, so the motion would be to, accept the discussed changes of this evening, and we're recommending approval of the document to the city council. I think I need to write it.
So recommending approval of the document to the city council with the discussed changes.
Yes, and then if I could, if someone could make a motion to that effect, and second.
Allison, I'll make a motion to do what you just explained, that we'll accept this document with the changes for the city council.
And could I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroll. Thank you, Commissioner Ryan.
Okay, so the motion would be recommending approval of the document with the discussed changes to the city council. So Commissioner Kroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweet.
Yes.
All right, we have 3 yeas, so the motion passes.
Thank you so much. And so our next item is the public hearings draft ordinance, and who will be discussing that? So the city clerk could guide us.
Yeah,
through
I guess
that.
I'll take that one. So on page 7 of your packet is the draft ordinance. It is the same as the ordinance that we had at the meeting last week or last month, sorry. And this is for public hearings to be changed to quasi judicial public hearings and authorizing the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Commission to use a hearing officer to make quasi judicial decisions. And within that conversation of last month, we had questions regarding the quasi judicial role and what that meant. So on page 17 of your packet, I put together just a little quick memo on what quasi judicial roles of the Planning Commission are. And so this top square here is the definition out of the Alaska Planning Commission handbook. The quasi judicial is an action taken by a public person or body, in this case, a planning commission, who is not a judge. And it involves an official decision on the respective rights or claims of parties appearing before the body making the decision. And so one of the important things about quasi judicial decisions is that they deal with matters in which a determination is going to be made of applying the law as it exists now, as opposed to a policy or a legislative decision, which would be recommending the law changes or different policies. And in the planning commission realm, variances, conditional uses, pretty much everything we have a public hearing on is a quasi judicial decision that would be made. So this hearing officer option would be available for the planning commission to use on things like variances or conditional uses at their discretion if they want it, if you wanted to. But it would be available for that or for the Board of Adjustment, which would make a quasi judicial determination on an appeal process, which is more what this is geared towards, but it could be used in a variance or a conditional use as well. But it's mainly focusing on the appeal process for that, but it would be an option for those quasi judicial decisions that the planning commission makes as well. And so don't know if there's any other questions or clarifications. I did put in a couple of more resources in here, kind of just about different options for quasi judicial roles. And this is out of the Planning Commission handbook. Again, it has advisory, regulatory, and procedural roles. So advisory would be discussions like we just had on the comprehensive plan, and regulatory is really the quasi judicial role. So where you're making an official decision on a permit, a variance, a plat, although in this case, the plat would be advisory to the Kenai Peninsula Planning Commission at the borough level, but that would be a quasi judicial role for them. And then there's the procedural role they have in here is basically properly noticing and running an open meeting, making fair decisions and conducting that. But the regulatory role of the quasi judicial is essentially interpreting the ordinances and code and as is and how it applies to a specific individual or group of individual situation. So I just wanted to put some information here to clarify that. And then Heidi found this great chart, which I just really liked. And it will go through the different roles that the planning commission has as well. So we could do, if the planning commission commissioners would like a more thorough training on how to operate in a quasi judicial role, because I think we are going to come up with a couple of those here probably in the next year. So if that's something that we'd like a refresher training on, our local government specialist has offered to come down and do that if we feel like that'd be beneficial for the process. And in general, one of the other discussions that was had at the last meeting was to put that definition within the ordinance. And so I kind of wanted to get some guidance on that because it is really not in the codes of many other. In fact, I haven't found an example of it being in the code anywhere, but we could put in that definition from the Planning Commission handbook and make it more fit for the hearing portion of it. And I'll pull that one back up again here.
When this goes into the in the zoning, because this will go into the zoning code, could you put the definition in the definition section?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, more specifically, would you just want the definition of what quasi judicial is? Is that
just I think just short and sweet. I mean, just
mm-hmm.
so that way it refers to something specific that is being done in this context, in the zoning context, and it would be, I think, helpful.
Yeah.
Are the Commissioner Ryan or Commissioner Kroll, do you have any other feedback?
Yeah, this is Allison. I guess what I'm kind of understanding is this was always the procedure. I mean, we're just now recognizing it being called quasi judicial. I mean, it was we're just putting in this definition of the word that we're not really changing how things are done.
I think there's there's two things because we're adding a hearing, an option to use a professional hearing officer to the code. And yes, we have been doing quasi judicial things, but we may not have referred to them as such. So it's just so, if we're doing,
Clarifying,
yeah.
language.
Yeah, so
The rule.
yeah, clarifying that those public hearings are on quasi judicial decisions and then providing for an option
Okay,
for a hearing officer as well.
all right. Finally figured it out.
And that is, I mean, the focus is more on the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, but if there was a case where, the Planning Commission had maybe too many people with conflicts, or there could be some reason why that variance or conditional use might want to go to an administrative hearing officer, but it is focused more on the appeal process of it.
So I guess just so point forward, we'll have the code adjust or the code, the definitions code include the definition of the quasi judicial, and then this this draft ordinance will be updated into the Seldovia Municipal Code in the zoning section.
If you guys recommend it to the city council and the city council
Okay,
passes
but
it,
so,
yeah.
so that's what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to, by doing this ordinance, we're adding an option. It's not required, but it's an option that can be used if desired. And so that's why this has been created. And then the term of art in terms of what in terms of what the specific activity is called is a quasi judicial, and that's how that came up. And I think in our previous discussion, that term was a surprise, or it was so we wanted to be sure that commissioners knew, and if the public is reviewing things, they're able, they have something that tells them what this is in terms of the type of activity. And then they also know that there's an option for this type of administrative hearing to
Yeah, I
to
think
be done. So that's kind of the arc of what we're trying to accomplish. And so any questions or any feedback on any of that in terms of that you may have?
And I guess I would ask, with the addition of the quasi judicial going into the definition section, is there any other things that stand out as questions or concerns about the ordinance, or?
I guess from my perspective, it seems like, this is a way to proceduralize the option of having an administrative hearing officer. And that's something that I think the city council would like to have as an option if needed. Is that correct? So we're just making sure that we have a way to execute that if somebody should decide that they want to have a hearing officer. So if I So one, I'm just gonna ask if there are any concerns with any of the things we've just discussed. And if you don't raise any, I'll take that as that you don't have concerns. And then the second question I would have is, are you okay with us moving forward to vote on this and recommend this ordinance to be approved by the city council?
Yeah, I think we could make a motion to have this ordinance approved by the city council. I mean,
Okay.
the planning commission forward that.
Okay. So, and Henry, are you okay with that?
Yeah, it looks fine.
Okay, so I guess Allison, if Commissioner Ryan, if you would like to make a motion and
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we would move this ordinance along to the city council.
I'll second that.
thank you very much, Commissioner Kroll. And then if the clerk could do the roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Kroll,
Yes,
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes,
and Commissioner Sweet.
Yes.
3 yeas. Mhm. So we will move that to the city council. Thank you. And
And I apologize for but just to be clear that we also, I don't know if we need to do another motion, but to amend the definitions with the quasi judicial definition. So I guess just to keep
Yeah.
it simple, I'll just ask for a motion to update the quasi judicial definition
Okay.
in the
So-
definition section of the code.
Okay. Okay, so to update the ordinance to add the quasi judicial definition.
Yes, please. So if we could have a motion on the definition.
okay, I guess we need another motion. I thought we just added that to the original motion. But if we needed another motion, then we shall.
Yeah, we did, because the ordinance doesn't have that ordinance does not update the definition in the other part of the code. So I apologize for not including that in the request for the first motion.
Okay, so to restate the motion, as I understand it, is to move to recommend the draft ordinance to the city council with the updates to add quasi judicial definition to the ordinance.
To the
definition section.
Because it's, what is it? Section 8, is it 18.20? I forget what the,
I think it is 18.1.
is it?
I think so.
So,
Okay. So with that motion, would you like me to recall the roll?
yes, please.
So Commissioner Kroll,
yes,
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes,
and Commissioner Sweet.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Sweet, would you like to move on to the next item?
Um, Yes, so this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, directing the Seldovia Planning Commission to complete a comprehensive zoning review. And the city manager will be giving us a briefing on that.
Sure. Um, thank you, Commissioner Sweet. So, the council, a couple of members of the council, Councilmember Barber and Councilmember Coleman, sponsored a resolution and that was presented to the Seldovia City Council during their February 23rd meeting. With a enthusiastic, resounding, support, unanimous approval to direct the Seldovia Planning Commission to complete a comprehensive zoning review with the intent that this was in the 2014 comprehensive plan, and it is also in the updated comprehensive plan, the draft plan that was just discussed. The last comprehensive zoning review occurred in 2006. And so just being prudent and that the public has requested this review for the last 12 years about, so having that come to fruition. And that, since that time, Seldovia's economic drivers and land use needs have evolved. There's less emphasis on marine-based uses, more on tourism, though those marine-based uses are still included. There's also a current established precedent where there are a few residential conditional uses that have been permitted in commercial and industrial zoning districts. And I know in the recent discussion through the commercial business district subcommittee, there was a lot of talk about the need for residential buildings, and then even in the comprehensive plan, it calls out several different residential use types, including, professional housing, workforce housing, ADUs, as has been on the commission's list for a while. So just really doing that comprehensive review of where our community is at and where we hope to see it go. And making sure that those zones are meeting those needs. It also included in here is the placement of zoning of institutional uses, because it was called out during a public comment in the comprehensive plan that the school and shop are located in a residential zone. I have not personally had the opportunity to look at other communities to see if there's a precedent for that. It does seem like schools normally are in residential areas, but whether they're actually zoned residential or not, I'm not sure of. But that was something that was called out in the comprehensive plan review or update, as well as just ensuring that like I mentioned, those economic shifts are being covered, that the housing needs are being covered. And the council included also that there was opportunities to provide clarity, predictability, and equity for property owners. So not a small task, not something that's expected to happen in just a couple of meetings. I almost feel like I should apologize because you guys just went through the comprehensive plan and the commercial business district. And so this is another heavy lift. However, I have suggested that to the city council that if this is a priority, there could be some budgetary appropriations made to allow for a third party to help assist in this process. Alaska Municipal League does, that is something that could be potentially a part of their planning department, similarly to how they helped with the comprehensive plan. So I did approach that subject with them to see if they would be willing, and they are going to put together a scope of work and provide that back and to the commission for you guys to look over. And then if that's something, if that is a direction you want to go, and if that's not, just tell me and we can stop that conversation. But just, I was trying to get ahead of the situation and see if that's even a possibility. If that's something that the commission is interested in, that could be recommended to the city council for an appropriation, either in this budget or probably more likely the upcoming FY27 budget, since we're getting towards the end of our fiscal year here. And so I don't know if you guys have any suggestions or thoughts on your next steps, but that was my initial impression, was just to see where those supports are and what if there's a cost associated with those, and if based on that cost, if there's funding available for it, so that so that they can help move this process through smoothly. However, would love to hear back from the commission if that's aligns with how you guys see this going, or if you'd like something else done or have other questions and considerations. However, we can help support you guys through this process.
And so, Commissioner Ryan, do you have any feedback on this topic?
Yeah, it sounds like, do we have sideboards? Is it like, just start from scratch, like erase the whole zoning map that we have now? Or is there, like, that's a lot of work to figure out where we even start on this process, I guess.
Through the commission chair, great question. I think that's where maybe having some expert third-party help would be beneficial. My impression is, and I can check with the city council if we need, is it's a review. So, and that's what it states in this resolution. So I don't think it's starting completely over with the zoning code, but doing a thorough review of the districts and making sure that they are still meeting, that they're still adequate in meeting the needs of that community, of that neighborhood or the district itself. And if not, then making those recommendations for change.
Okay.
And then, anything else, Commissioner Ryan?
Not at the moment.
And then Commissioner Kroll, do you have any feedback?
Not presently.
Okay. So, one of the kind of looking at this and just kind of looking at zoning, I did do just a preliminary look at if schools were zoned separately, but I did not and this was not an in-depth dive, but it did not appear that schools were typically zoned separately, unless it was like a university district or something like that. One possible opportunity for zoning might be like an overlay district. So, for example, we talk a lot about resilience and the natural environment, and we have partnerships, and there are areas of Seldovia that are particularly important from a natural standpoint. So there may be some opportunities for doing some overlays to be able to, like, if we're doing specific projects and there's sensitivities or whatever, where that's supporting what our goals are in our comprehensive plan, and it can put a particular focus on it. So that's one opportunity to explore. The other thought I had was that perhaps an approach could be to start with looking at the two pillars that have to do with land use. So so we have, the land use and development pillar, and then we have the housing plan pillar. And there are some other goals or tactics that are specifically related to land use. And I was thinking that perhaps it could be approached to look at the land use and the housing and any of those types of topics, and then see how that looks, because it might be like, instead of trying to tackle everything, that might be able to focus us, and that has particular relevance to updating zoning. So it could help us to make a start at it. And then from that perspective, we could bring in the other pillars and see how they fit in, so that if we're doing this review, there's a way that people can kind of wrap their mind around it, because it's a huge amount of just topics and disciplines. So maybe that would be a helpful way to think about, just to be able to think about it and organize, the activities of this type of review. And then the third thing I was thinking about was, we've started a discussion on the sort of alternative development. And I'm sensitive to if there's something specific that we can do in a timely fashion to help people who are trying to solve problems today, is that, how that fits in with this bigger review. Like, it's nice to be able to do things in a cohesive way, but I'm also wondering, how do we think about that alternative development so that we can respond to what people are thinking about? And maybe there's some specific activities that can be done that could, reach out to the people in that area and have some, I don't know if it would be a public hearing, but perhaps reach out to people and kind of see where they're at, and then see if there's interest in having a community discussion about that. And because I think solving problems where, some of the easier ways of developing property have been done in our community, and now we're going to have maybe more complex things. And so can we use this as a way to learn about how we approach that? And then that might give us some, learnings and information about how we would look at doing rezoning, or if we're making changes, and how we can help people do what they would like to the extent possible with their properties.
Okay.
Any other comments? And any other thoughts that either the city clerk or the city manager might have on this?
I guess from a process standpoint, I'm curious about the timing. Do we want to wait for the comprehensive plan to be formally adopted before aligning with it? Or is this a process we want to start prior?
And I mean, it would seem that we should have the plan approved. I don't know if, like, from a budgetary standpoint, if we would be starting before the 1st of July, just from a, activity standpoint.
I
Any
think that would
thoughts, Becky?
depend on the scope of services provided. If you guys want to use Alaska Municipal League, and I can provide, or I should say City Clerk Diamond can provide those suggestions back to them, and talk about what that process looks
Okay.
like. And then maybe, that's the next discussion to have, one that's ready and then make
Right.
a plan from there.
So we'll, I guess, so the AML can provide us with a proposal and that can help sort of with the discussion. So I think it sounds like we're going to proceed with our comprehensive plan and getting that all taken care of. So that's underway. In the meantime, they will work in their business processes, a potential proposal that can come back and that can inform further discussion. And then we can, at that time, I think that would be the time to decide, well, yes, this looks like a good way forward and it would probably be good for them. So at that point, we would have a proposal with a cost estimate. So we would know, is this feasible for us to do in terms of what we can do as a city, or is there some, would we do a portion of it and how that might look. So today we're not in a position to really make a decision because we don't know what that looks like from a suggested way forward or from a cost perspective, but this will just give us a way to get information when they're able to do that for us. So, and then that fits in, I guess, it would be good for then when you speak with the city council, then in your report, you could just let them know that we're working our way to getting clarity on what that might look like so that we're beginning to undertake this, and then we're just figuring out what the scope of work would be and who would do what. And
I have made that note, Commissioner Sweet, and I will include that in my next city manager's
Okay.
report.
And does that sound like a good way forward then? Is that okay? And then just to be clear, as this is going on, then would City Clerk Diamond would be the point of contact on this particular project? Is that what I'm understanding? Okay.
That's what I'm understanding.
Correct.
It's another opportunity. Okay, and then that takes us to the staff reports.
Yeah, and this is just kind of the ongoing business we have here, Cedar Street Extension. There's no update on that at this time. The planning website updates are ongoing. And then the accessory dwelling units, I did want to get a little bit more information about what scope of work you wanted for this particular topic. If we're looking at changing zoning codes to allow for it, or just putting in a specific definition.
If we're going to be doing this, since we haven't really done any work on that particular issue, I mean, we've had some discussions, I think, about what they are and a little bit definitions, but it may be that since we're doing this zoning update, maybe this is something that could be pulled into that because it is a strategy for housing in this day and age. And so that way it just fits in with the bigger picture that we have.
Okay. And then for the alternative development standards, the direction from the last meeting was to reach out to the property owners, at which point I did send an email with the packet of information to the emails that were given to me by Miss Chissis, and I haven't really received responses back, so I can reach out again in public fashion, or just solicit some comments and suggestions about the changes that those property owners would like to see, because I think that's where we're stuck on there, is what which parts of those are the things that they need to see to develop their properties. So, and I think Commissioner Sweden and I talked a little bit about this, and I don't know if there's any suggestions beyond just requesting that information. If we'd like to hold a standalone public meeting and invite them to speak specifically on that topic, but we didn't really hear from the property owners in that subdivision quite yet. And then the other question is whether or not when we're talking about overlay districts, whether or not we want to kind of include that in the zoning review as well, or if we want to keep working on a different path for this. So
Perhaps if you could reach out to the people that are affected, and we could gather some more information. It would seem that would seem like we should have a public hearing about it, just so that people that there's a formal way for people to, express their ideas. And as this develops, it may be something that we would either decide to move ahead and work the issue, or if it looks like it may be more complex and needs to be pulled into the zoning review, that, I don't know what that, I don't see a concrete answer to that. I'm just, I would like to be able to be responsive to the community. And so if I would be more inclined to try to work it to solve, to engage with people and help them work towards something that would be acceptable, than for it to drag on and then they're not getting, a timely response. So that would just be my only concern. Any other feedback from the commissioners on the on our open items?
Could I ask for feedback, Commissioner Sweet? So we do have a building permit, that has, that City Clerk Diamond's been reviewing and I reviewed, and certainly there were some questions about it. And again, it's consideration for updates to the communication tower. And I know that's something we talked about in the past, and I think it was taken off upcoming business for future considerations. And then it comes up again, and there are some difficulties because our code doesn't directly relate back to communication towers. It's kind of a different kind of a build or structure than a normal building or structure that we look to. So I don't know, not to put you on the spot, City Clerk Diamond, I don't know, maybe that would be relevant, is to ask to have that on an upcoming business item, just so that there could be some clarifying language in code. Maybe not for this permit, because I think it would probably take too long, but in the future to be able to ease that process. Is that something the commission would be open to?
I think so. It sounds like, it's good. It's something that is coming up, and we may need to address it in the future again. So we need to get some, it's a need, it's a need to put some regulatory information down on that.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, there are difficulties.
And is there, within the state of Alaska, are there like experts on this, or, in the communication tower, like, where we might be able to get some good advice? I don't, I've worked around, I've worked around that, but I in other areas, but I just, I think there's like, I don't know if there's an office that the governor has, or there's some office that does function, that does have some work related to this in communication. So there may be there may be something that's out there that could help us with something that is, there might be some procedures or things that are out there that are already in place that would help us.
Okay. I can check into that.
Yep, this is Allison.
Yes,
Am I muted?
Commissioner Ryan.
It sounds like if we are doing a comprehensive review of the zoning, that this would come up as one of the needs that where our zoning record doesn't, it's not in there yet. So it's
Mhm.
part of the review saying, hey, we need to have something.
Okay, so just add it to that list. So we
Yeah.
can. I think that I believe that because of the federal grants and things that the state had set up some kind of an office and interface with the feds, and that there were some things that were related to,
The Office of Broadband.
it may have been, but
Look into that.
yeah, so if they have any things that are related to that, that could help us, then because if they've already done the work to help with that, then that might help us.
Did you want me to share what the current permit was, or?
What do you mean?
So you mentioned the permit that is being reviewed.
For more outbuildings? Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's not a different tower that they're referring to. It's equipment on the same tower and then another outbuilding at the same
And it's
property.
in the same location. So it's just other companies are putting appurtenances onto the existing tower.
Yeah, and building some more ground
Okay.
equipment for it. So just to clarify that it's not a new tower.
We're not sprouting another tower.
No, but there's this question back and forth of like, is it needed? Is it not needed? There are ground improvements made. Are they temporary? Are they not? It's just there's standards that aren't set yet of that kind of work.
Yeah, there's a lot open to interpretation that maybe should not be so open to interpretation.
Okay, so we'll learn some things from this particular permit, and then we may get some good advice from some of the people involved in the communications kind of development. No subject is you can always add another subject to this comprehensive zoning review.
It's comprehensive.
It's comprehensive. We like that. Maybe. Okay. Any other, and was there anything else that, so we've you're keeping track of the things that we're adding and kind of.
Yeah, and I've
pulling-
added the communication towers back on for next steps
Okay.
to check into state office with expertise and come up with the regulatory information that could help
Okay.
facilitate the permit process for that.
And so that takes us to the city manager's update.
Yes, thank you. And I would like to ask the commission before I begin, the most recent city manager's report from the February 23rd meeting is in the packet. There are there are updates since then, because this is a ever evolving process. But I guess would like initial feedback. Do you guys like it when I give the verbal in-depth review? Would you rather just see it? I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'm happy to share it. And it seems like that was an important piece that we were missing before, for the commission to be updated on what's going on in the city. But would just want to be respectful of your time. So I'm happy. That's what I do with the council, is I go in depth. And I'm happy to do that. And maybe it's a more of an abridged in depth. But certainly not if that's not your guys' intent.
So, Commissioner Ryan, do you have any feedback on that?
I guess it would be nice just to know what is new,
Okay,
because a lot of the stuff is repeated.
yeah.
Okay. And Commissioner Kroll, do you have any feedback?
No, not really.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll just kind of give a little precursory then. We won't go super in depth. But some fantastic news in this last week. We did receive the Uplands entry authorization and put out a public notice, and that is in the back of the packet that went out today for immediate release, letting the public know that we have entered into an entry authorization agreement with the Alaska Department of Natural Resources, which means the city's next steps include a survey, appraisal, phase 1 environmental site assessment, and initial cleanup of the area. We're pretty excited about that. So if you guys know anybody, or certainly spread the word, anybody who has a vehicle in Jackloff, above the dock in the uplands there, it's that 1.2 acres right above the dock where people are currently parking, to get a hold of the harbor master, because we're gonna start taking an inventory and assessing for that as part of that initial cleanup for potential removal of vehicles that need to be removed. So if you have an active vehicle out there, let us know. Or an inactive vehicle, either way. If you have anything out there, let us know, because we'll be cleaning up. Some other great news is that we signed the easement, or we're getting ready to sign the easement with the University of Alaska for the raw water transmission line. And that's going to council at their next meeting on Monday, March 9th. And we're working through the contract negotiations for the fuel and lube roof. You probably saw, and not to repeat, because it is in here, that we received another CDS appropriation for Jackloff, and that was able to just be rolled in. That'll be rolled into our current PIDP of 2.3 million. So that'll bring that up to the 2.09-ish. And that's very exciting. And then we also have a Denali Commission grant and a local match. That should be hopefully enough for that project. We're looking to issue that RFP here this month. And not expecting that we'll be able to get that project done this year. It'll probably be more like next spring. But we could be pleasantly surprised. I'm just not counting on that. We've had some great meetings about our stormwater management plan, and DOT is finally engaged with us. We have a meeting scheduled for next week to discuss the improvements on Main Street with them. And then with our engineering firm and with DOT, or with our public works crew. So that's very exciting. We received, or I should say Trout Unlimited received $240,000 for the engineering design and some water level and quality assessments for the Fish Creek Dam. And those funds were leveraged as part of a submission from last Friday to the Denali Commission for some USDA funds. It's like a comprehensive project that would, or a 3-phase project that would remove Fish Creek Dam, would complete the initial steps for either acquiring or conserving the Trina Lake lands, and then implementing a compost program in the community. So that's very exciting. We had a lot of great help from the NOAA Kasittna Bay Lab crew, staff out there. So that was really nice to see that come through. We also were notified by KB NER that they received an Alaska Sustainable Salmon Grant, which will perform a 3-year study and assessment of the habitat and health of salmon, baby salmon in the slough, which is fantastic. I think they're doing that there, and I think Nan Wallach was the other place. They're doing it in 2 places over here on the south side of Ketchimek Bay. So we look forward to working with them on that. as well as we had submitted last year a grant in conjunction with KB NER for a hydrology assessment, a wetlands and hydrology assessment of the area that we did not receive. However, we received great feedback, comments on our proposal, and notification that another notice of funding opportunity was coming out. So I had a meeting today with KB NER and their partners at UAA and University of South Florida. And we're looking forward to resubmitting that proposal. The pre-proposal is due at the end of this month. And then hoping to receive an invitation for the full proposal and already planning to move ahead so that we're prepared because it's a really short time frame. Other grants that we submitted last Friday were for 2 REVEEP projects. We currently have a REVEEP, and that's Village Energy Efficiency Program for the city office, where we were able to insulate the shop, do a new bay door. We're gonna do new man doors, a couple of new windows, update or redo our heat registers. So overall fantastic program. And we submitted one for new siding for this building, the multi-purpose building that we're in now, as well as for a new roof and heat pump for the harbor office. So hoping to see one or both of those come to fruition would be a huge boon for the community. We are currently working on a sewer issue up on Vista Avenue, trying to actively work with that, and have noted again additional issues from the watershed over in East Addition off of C Street. So that's our biggest stormwater basin, or our biggest water basin, according to the recent stormwater management plan that we had done. And there's so much water flowing that it's flowing and freezing and flowing and damming up at that culvert on Cross C Street and not and so then it's making alternative pathways around the culvert and cutting to the road, making the road difficult to traverse, and has just been a real ongoing problem, which was a great anecdote for the pre-proposal for the hydrology and wetlands proposal with KB NER, just to go full circle. So I was able to share that, and we have some pictures and things, and just talking about the importance of it. Well, important things to note for the Planning Commission, we did not receive the AML action plan bundle for our transportation plan. So we're looking at other or transportation safety action plan. So we're looking at other funding options or ways to leverage the Kenai Peninsula Boroughs plan for demonstration or implementation funding for those alternative transportation projects like the Harbor Boardwalk. We're also hoping that the CTAP and TAP, which are the Community Transportation Program and the Transportation Alternative Program through the state of Alaska, will become available this year. It seems like that's something that they're looking to open up. And so that project would be very applicable, including both the repair on the old boardwalk and then the new boardwalk would be great projects for that funding source. And then City Clerk Diamond did make a request for technical assistance with the Minnesota, what are they called? Something Minnesota. Minnesota Housing Partnership. They're working with the Denali Commission right now on a housing needs assessment, and that's something that they do. And so we put in a request, as well as we heard from CAPED that they have completed phase 1 and phase 2 of their housing needs assessment, which was more broad scope, and that they're working on phase 3, which would be for more individual communities. So I haven't had a chance to thoroughly review that. That's on my list, and it reminds me I should probably send that to you guys in case you guys have any feedback. So I will do that after this meeting. And I think that really kind of sums it up. There was a RFTP, a rural, I'm not saying that right, RHTP, Rural Health Transformation Program. Projects proposals are due next week. And we have AML, a grant writer from AML helping us with that. But it's kind of pretty hard stretch to make that leap. That's pretty broad. And I think everything else really is in here. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. And I just wanted to thank you and Clerk Diamond and the rest of the city staff that is involved with working on grants, because it makes a lot of difference to our community. And I know that it takes a lot of effort, and just wanted to let you know that you're very much appreciated for what you're doing for our community.
Thank you. Yeah, we submitted five grants
Yeah,
on
that's-
Friday. It was insane.
That's a lot.
Clerk Diamond did point out one more thing at the end of the city manager's report, and actually you'll see it on page 28 of your packet. Just to kind of gauge interest, let you guys know that there is a consideration going forward to offer subscription Guardian Light or Guardian Flight subscriptions to our volunteer fire and EMS department. And as part of that, expanding that into our employees and our other volunteers, which would potentially include the planning commission members. So I don't know if that's something that you guys are interested in, but certainly something that the city council is considering including as a budgetary item moving forward. So would love to hear your feedback on that. But it seems like that overall has had very positive support on how it is the benefits of having that. It's a small financial, a small financial, what's the word I'm looking for?
Outlay.
Contribution, for a positive, broad impact within the community, for those connected with the city. So let me know if that's something that you guys would like to be considered in.
Thank you. I guess that takes us to, I believe, comments from the public or information. Yeah, comments from the public. I don't think we have.
We have no public
Okay.
at the moment.
Okay. And then any comments from the commission? Commissioner Ryan, do you have any comments? And
Okay,
Commissioner-
I'm unmuted. That's what took me forever. Yeah, no, it's interesting to hear about this Guardian. I guess I have to look into that. That would mean if the city provided that, it's just a service that anybody associated with the city would get that membership, I guess, is what you're saying.
If there'd be a spreadsheet, and if you were, that would go out. And if people are interested, they would have to fill out the spreadsheet. And as long as they're in their position, that would be a subscription that they would receive, and your associated household as well.
Okay, guess it covers veterinary services. So,
Commissioner Kroll. Do you have any comments?
No.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. And then that, our next meeting will be on April 1st. Oh, excuse me. The
Yeah.
regular meeting will not be held.
So myself, I will be gone, and I believe Heidi will be gone as well. So the reality of holding that meeting is probably not going to happen.
Okay.
If the commission would like, I think April 15th was an alternative date, if we'd like to kind of stay on a
Okay. And
on a
then
roll, or we,
I guess, I guess, would April 15th work for you, Commissioner Ryan?
I think I may be traveling to get back to Seldovia around then, but yeah, it's hard to say.
Okay, so unknown, and then Commissioner Kroll, would around the 15th be a good date for you?
Yeah, we might get more public participation then too.
Okay. All right, well, I guess what we can do is if we can go ahead and schedule it for that date, and then we'll see how it goes.
yep. And as we get closer, Commissioner Ryan, I'll confirm with you what your plans are for that.
Okay, and then motion to adjourn. Sorry, motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. I have not unmuted myself.
Okay,
I second that.
All right.
okay. We are adjourned. It is 7:51. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.